How many times, babe, do I have to forgive? What does it say?
Over and over and over again.
7 times 77 or 77 times 7 or
70
777 times 7 or 7,777 times. Like,
yeah.
And some
I'm
things.
keeping records. Welcome, family, to the Bacon Bitz podcast, where we desire for you to take the bits of information and immediately apply them to your life for success. The ground rules for our podcast is that it will always be encouraging, uplifting, and informative. The areas of life that we will be talking about on the Bacon Bitz podcast is dealing with having a balanced life. I need to hear you say it. Say it out loud. Say valuable. Information applied equals success. And I am on this wonderful podcast with the woman of my dreams, my everything, my all in all, the wonderful Diana Acosta-Bacon. Hi, darling.
What's up, my caramel delicious mocha-licious?
Ooh. Yes. And what we're going to be talking about today on this wonderful podcast is love, exciting, and, all that good stuff. Because it is coming up on that wonderful day that the American culture loves to celebrate, called Valentine's Day. I don't know why we take one day to celebrate love. It should be celebrated every day. But for the sake of our society, we are talking about love. And we don't want to just leave it at. We'll be primarily talking about the wonderful times between this wonderful queen and myself, and just marriages, but also, with our kids and others. So I want to come from the angle of the biblical love. So 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. I'm going to read the whole thing in its entirety, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to break it on down. So, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of wrongs. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Love never fails. Woo, that's a lot of meat in a section talking about love. We're talking about what love is and what love isn't. Oh, so you just can't do anything and everything when you're talking about love? Love has boundaries? What? Are you serious? So let's start with love is patient and kind. How can we experience love's patience and kindness, my love?
So this is a question we ask ourselves. I don't know about you asking me and me asking you, but how can we experience love's patience and kindness? As I repeat you. So we have, of course, we can speak from what we know. We talk from what we know, we've experienced. And I know that when people get married, they say in sickness or in health, in rich or poor, till death do us part, right? And that is a marriage. That's a commitment that we intentionally make. Love is a commitment. Love is a choice. Love is not just a fuzzy feeling of chicken skin. So, for instance, perhaps you've experienced a loss of employment. I know during these times are hard, and a lot of people have lost jobs or been on furlough or trying to figure out how to make it. Prices are going up. Are we being patient and kind with each other, or is the stress of the environment affecting our marriage? And we have to be so intentional about it not affecting our marriage. I know that when I went through the 2 brain tumors, and I'm just celebrated my 5-year anniversary, but there's still a lot of things that you have to deal with. There's a lot of ways that you have to support me or care for me that were not part of your dream of the future. But definitely wasn't my part, my dream of our future. Sometimes people experience accidents. There's even a basic car accident. I had a friend who broke her ankle, for instance, So guess what? Now what happens? How is that person? Is her spouse or her partner going to be patient and kind enough to you're going to have to arrange, the whole schedule has to change. Now we have to figure out a way to help her into the bathroom. I mean, she can't even get into the shower by herself. She can't drive because it's her right foot.
Right.
So are you going to take her to work, having to pick her up from work, having to plan, and everything changes, and you start to recognize that, wow, you were doing a lot of stuff. And we don't recognize until we enter that person's life and their routine, how much they actually take on.
Yeah.
And how much we can assist or how much we can't, one of the two. But those are just some really simple ways of kind of reflecting back. So if one of us is sick, if one of us had an accident, if one of us lost our job, how can we be patient and how can we be kind to support the other?
Man, and you sparked the idea of, are we patient with ourselves when we're sick? Do we cut ourselves some slack on, you know what, it takes time to recover from some sicknesses, you know? It doesn't just happen overnight, you know? Are we cutting ourselves some slack when, you know, you put in application after application after application and no one seems to be hiring you? I mean, are we cutting ourselves some slack? So I know we say sometime about loving each other, but are we loving ourselves enough to know that, you know what, the body needs time to heal? Are you giving yourself some grace and mercy in the process of being patient and kind to yourself as you're healing, whether that's through a divorce or a breakup or, you know, other things of that nature, you know? So that's a big one. Yeah. You know, are we cutting ourselves some slack and being patient and kind with ourselves? You know, when you're grieving the loss of a loved one, you know, I mean, we can't be having this mentality of the person that we love died on a Monday, we have the funeral on Friday, and then we back at work on Monday. I mean, we got to cut ourselves some slack and allow ourselves time to grieve, time to patience with ourselves and be kind on ourselves to, you know, I'm supposed to toughen up, you know, suck this up and get back to doing. Man, sometimes it's not like that, you know, especially the closer you were with that significant other, you know, spouse, family member, whatever it is, best friend. You know, that's going to take some time, you know, so we need to be kind and patient with ourselves as we're going through some of the things that we go through.
And I think with times nowadays, it's really hard and people don't have a time off like they used to have. A lot of employments don't offer you bereavement, don't offer a lot of things. So I know I've heard once, I've said it, never trust somebody who says, I love you, when they don't know how to love themselves. Yeah,
amen.
So I think it's just being compassionate, comes with patience and kindness, and compassion is a different level of it. So it's just being a little bit more profoundly intentional about caring for yourself so you can in turn care for the one that you love the most. And I shouldn't say most because we have kids and, you know, they always fit to see who's a favorite. But care for yourself. Just like in an airplane, you have to put the mask on yourself before you put it on the other people.
Yeah. Love is not jealous. Do we encourage the people that we love with their goals and their dreams and their desires? Do we? Are we jealous of our next door neighbors when they get a new car or job promotion? Love is not jealous whatsoever.
It's not boastful or proud
that is
either.
True. That is true.
Love is not jealous or boastful or proud. So do we encourage our partner to fulfill their goals, their dreams, and their desires, even and especially if they're not in line with ours? Like, what does that look like? When we got married, my dreams and my bucket list was nowhere near what yours was, babe.
That's true.
It didn't look like it. It didn't reflect it. But nevertheless, how can we encourage each other? Maybe your spouse wants to travel the world. I wanted to be an expat. I still want to be an expat. Maybe your spouse wants to have a new fitness routine or new health, a different way of eating. I was vegan for 5 years. I was complete vegan. I always reset my body and I go vegan every 10 years apparently for 5 years straight. And I do it again and just to reset my health goals. And you joined me for most of it. But how do we encourage one another? Maybe your career path. Sometimes we get married and we have people who are, you're still in college. You're still finishing your dream. You're still in the process of it. Maybe one wants to be a physician or something that takes you away from the home. How can we encourage one another? And are we authentically celebrating their victories, their achievements, without comparing ourselves when it comes to fitness goals, when it comes to eating goals, when it comes to career goals, without competing, without comparing, and without minimizing? Yeah. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, I think that's big because I know one of the things that I'm so grateful for is during COVID, I had passed out twice in 2020. So in July, I was at my brother and sister-in-law's house, working out extremely hard, and was sweating profusely and passed out. So had to end up going to the emergency room. I knew what it was. It was dehydration because I sweat profusely. I mean, I sweat to the point where I would sweat, and then all of a sudden the sweat would just cut off, which lets me know there is nothing else to sweat. So that was huge. And then October of the same year, 2020, was at the gym, Platinum Fitness, and ended up passing out. And this time there was no sweat. So I had to change up my whole workout routine on how I worked out, because I used to always associate staying healthy with going to the gym. So one thing I'm so grateful for to my queen, and it was huge, was I do a whole lot more stretching, and I work out at home now, push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, all that wonderful stuff now. And if I would have been hell-bent on, going back to the gym, doing it the way I was doing it, she could have got mad, could have went off on me. I could have been like too boastful and too proud to take her advice. But I was so grateful that I did, because my body is so flexible now. And it's all because my wife gave me a new way to work out. And she could have been, jealous to a degree, because my baby is not able to do the things she used to do. But she wasn't afraid to pass on, what she knows that could help me be better, which in turn helps us be better. So that was truly a blessing in order for us to share on how to help each other be better.
I think it's really a key thing there is not boastful or proud. Like, are we even teachable? Like, there's sometimes you can't say nothing to some people because they're just not teachable. They're not open to even receive it, whether they haven't been told it nicely or kindly, or they're just not teachable. They think that they know best. Mm-hmm. This is what's working. This is what it's always worked. And this is what I'm going to keep doing. Yeah. And that's not always the best for us for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thankful that, neither one of us minimize each other's goals and dreams. I think that's really big, because I know my baby just started working last year, and that was a blessing to our household in so many ways. So I was so super grateful for that. And she didn't, neither one of us minimize what we do, because God gave us a gift to do what it is that we do. And so we're always encouraging, lifting each other up, and want the best for each other. So that was super awesome for my baby to do her thing last year and still doing it. So super grateful, and that she is such a blessing to the people that she ministered to at her job.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
I love my peeps.
Yeah, they are so awesome. Love is not rude. It does not demand its own way. Ooh, love is not rude. Can we be rude? You better believe it. And demand our own ways. We can't see enough of that on social media now. It's all about us. I understand the self-care and making sure, you're not taken advantage of, but making sure that it's a win-win for everybody when we live life at its best. It is a win-win. Sometimes there'll be if you're playing sports, it's going to be a winner and a loser. But there's most of the times in our own lives, we can have situations where there's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. So are we yielding to one another? Are we yielding? Are we willing to compromise for the good of all? Yeah. Right. I know early on in our marriage, we decided, we don't have a lot of fights. And I know that our kids, our older kids, have heard us argue, and they're like, are you serious? Is this your fight? Like, because some things we just decided very early on in our marriage, before we actually got married so early on, that some things they're not worth arguing about.
Yeah,
like,
amen.
It's not important to me where we eat. It's not an argument. I know a lot of people are like, well, make your decision. And I learned early on, for me, I want like 5 options. And I learned early on, I can't tell you 5 options. I'm like, what do you want? Italian? You want Indian? You want Greek? You want, you want a burger? What do you want? And it's too many options for you. I have to narrow it down for you, one or the other.
That's it.
And for me, I want 5 options because I want, honestly, a little bit of all of it.
Right,
That's the
right.
truth. So we have to compromise, but it's not serious enough for us to argue about.
Yeah.
Like, you want a burger? I don't. But hey, let's go get a burger this time. And then next time, I'm going to go get some Indian food because that's what I want. And guess what? We're both going to eat still.
That's
and we're both going to be perfectly happy in the end. So many things are just not worth arguing about and feeling resentful towards the other person because they're unwilling to compromise. You do you this time. We'll do your choice. And next time we'll do my choice, or vice versa. I love, and I recommend this to so many people, whether it comes to for their spouses. I love it for your children. I love it as a family. Get a jar. Get a fun jar. Everybody gets to do five things. Write down 5 on 5 little pieces of paper, something you want to do, whether that's go to the library and just look at books together, whether that's going to the zoo and walking around. Maybe that's going to the fair. Maybe that's going on a picnic. Maybe that's going to the movies, or going out to dinner at a certain place, or maybe having a game night at home. I mean, whatever, having a barbecue at home, whatever that is. Cool. And every person from the youngest to the oldest has 5 things they want to do as a family when it's forced family. I call it forced family fun. And then fold them up, put them in a jar, mix them all up, and whenever your time is to come together, whether it's once a week, once a month, however you do it, you pick one thing every time, and then it's a random of what you're going to get to do. If you have enough time, you have a whole day, then do it. Go find water. There's places in Tucson. Go to Lakeside Park. Go find water and bring a picnic. Go to Subway. If you don't want to, we don't have bread. Go to Subway, get a couple of footlongs, split them between the family, and just go have fun. Be intentional. Yeah. Be intentional, willing to compromise. If we're not willing and it's too much to try and figure out, get a jar, put ideas in it, and then pick random stuff. And whether that be date night, whether that be for families, it's appropriate for all occasions.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I love talking to the kids about, is when they think back on some of the stuff that we used to call forced family fun, but to look back on and say that was some of our best times we ever had was when we were doing those things. Because, even though your idea might have not been the one picked out of the jar, we all had a good time doing that one event together as a family, and you can't never get those times back. So it's always beautiful to be able to look back over that and see that. Yeah,
when our kids were younger, every week I was on a couple of websites. There was free event calendars or Tucson Weekly. There was always something to do in your community that's free. Yeah, there's always something. It might not be exciting to you, like somebody reading at the library. It might not sound exciting. Right. Go check it out. Go check it out. Go to Groupon.com and you're going to find some opportunities to do something different. Go buy some easel. Go get a couple of what do you call them? Canvases. Paint is 50 cents a little thing. Yeah. Just have a paint night at home. Like, there's so many things that we can do that's fun. Figure out to cook something together. There's so many. There's so many things that it's an endless supply of opportunities to come together and build each other up.
Love is not irritable, and it keeps no records of being wrong. Ooh, not irritable. Are there going to be times you're going to get irritable? Yes. Does it need to be a long period of time? No. And it keeps no records. That's the beauty of love. When we do it the right way, we don't keep bringing back up old situations over and over and over and over again. It's super important that, man, once we ask for forgiveness from each other and we've dealt with the situation that time, that argument should never come back up in the future. We should dump that stuff and let it be.
Yeah. Are we saving vulnerable information so we can use it as ammunition towards another person? We have to be so intentional. The same way we are with our friends. I hear the sister code. I hear the brother code. I hear this all the time. Yeah. We got to protect everybody's heart.
Right.
Like if they're giving you vulnerable information or sharing things with you, it's not yours to share with anybody else. In lieu of, especially this comes up a lot in like a prayer circle. Oh, pray for so-and-so, because no, that's gossip. Right. It wasn't your place. You can simply say, pray for my friend. God knows who that person is. You don't have to go into any details.
Right.
You know, and I know that we've all encountered a lot of relationships where one has been wronged and the other one is just having a really hard time dealing with it. And our mind will continue to ruminate and bring up things that our heart has not healed from. So if that's an issue and you feel still resentful and you're still looking and searching for things, and you're one of those really great stalkers, you know how to go, you know, people's passwords. And if you're spending all that time doing stuff, you need to get together with your spouse and have an honest communication and say, either we need to go see a therapist, but this is how I'm feeling. And the other person needs to be willing to listen without being angry that they're still struggling with it.
Right.
Because the reality is we all bring the pollution in our hearts of past relationships. And that relationship could be from our family. It could be from our partners. It could be from our friends. But we can't put the same horse in the corral with every other horse. We need to be willing to open up and listen to each other, to be vulnerable. We talked about this in the Healthy Relationship podcast when we talked about safety and security. I need to be able to feel safe enough and secure enough in our relationship that I can bring you anything I'm thinking or feeling without you attacking me or belittling me or minimizing me or comparing it. Well, you did this. We don't. That's not healthy. It's not helpful. It's not healthy, and it's unnecessary. We need to get to a place where we're healthy, and that means we should be able to talk to each other. And that might mean, hey, you know, I really want to talk with you. Can we just sit down and I just want to share my heart with you? It's so important. I know when I was teaching, one of my favorite things to do, and it was so hard for people, but they struggled, and people still do. Tell me what the problem is. But you have three things. You can't victimize yourself. You can't talk about another person, and you can't whine about it. Tell me the problem without those three things. Just tell me the problem without gossiping about another person, without victimizing yourself, and without whining about it. Just tell me the problem, and then we can look for a solution. But we automatically try to victimize ourselves, gossip about somebody else, or just whine, where you just want to vent. You don't want a solution.
Right,
so what do you want? Be honest about what you want.
Right.
Once we're able to articulate that, communicate that, ideally your spouse will line up with you and say, yeah, sure. Yeah. Like, why? Ideally, you have done your work and are willing to say, why is what she's saying pissing me off right now?
Right. Amen.
That's a sign. That's not an opportunity for you to use that as ammunition and come at me because it's something that's in you. Right. Because the truth is, we all have this pollution. And we could do our work, but it's no different than if you're not a smoker and you go into a smoker's house, all of a sudden you're there for an hour and you come out and you smell like smoke. Ooh. You smell like cigarette. Your clothes is saturated. Your hair is saturated. It's in your skin. You want to take a shower. Your shoes smell like the cigarette. It's the pollution, and it's no different when we're out in the world. The same way we go into nursing homes, we go into hospitals, and we feel the weight. We go into hospice, we feel the weight. We feel the fear, the energies. They permeate our spirit. And we take that home. We go to work and it's stressful, and we come home and we think that we haven't cleansed ourselves from it, you know. And it's, man, we got to be so intentional about not bringing things into this place where we have to be intentional about. This place is safe. It's secure. I don't want to keep record of wrong, especially someone else's who wronged me. Right. And I'm going to try and put it on you. That's not fair. It's not fair.
And that's huge. You know, that's really huge. You know, and then when some things are, you know, irritating you, to be able to articulate that without, you know, exploding. You know, remember, we've talked about it. Anger itself is not wrong. It's just about how we respond with the anger. But it's not irritable, man. Just say, you know what? Because when me and my wife first got married, one of the lines that I just did not like to hear was, "We need to talk." That was a huge one with me, because it was always, every time we would say we need to talk, it was going to be about something crazy. And not her, it was previous relationships when I would hear that, you know. And then I brought that into, you know, our relationship. So that's why that was big, that, to be able to articulate and say that, that, babe, anytime you say that right there, that irritates me. So can you say, can we need to talk about, and then say what the situation is, because that way it gives me some insight on what we need to talk about, instead of me stressing about, 15,000 different, scenarios of what could actually be wrong. So that was a big one. And then love keeps no records, man. Once you have forgiven somebody for what they've done, man, let that thing go. Now, love also, guess what? For people that have done you wrong over and over again, how I keep no more records of what was wrong, I just depart myself from that relationship, because I just know that person is not desiring to make a change. So there's no records of being wronged. It's just going back to, I love myself too much to stay in this predicament that I'm in. Love, it does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out.
Well, injustice, iniquity, things, we've all grown up and made some pretty questionable decisions in our 20s and 30s because maybe we lacked confidence, or maybe we've made relationship choices that we knew we shouldn't have been in that relationship until we discover the truth. God will always expose things that need to be exposed so we can make better choices. Sometimes sexual promiscuity, people are sleeping around because they're looking to be validated by others. They're looking to be accepted. Maybe they have abandonment issues. Addiction, they want to numb out. They're looking for ways to self-soothe that are not healthy, and they're destroying their relationships or opportunities of anything good in their life, all because they feel some sort of way and they don't know how to soothe themselves, and they get things that are actually destroying their own character and their bodies from the inside out. And they end up abandoning the very things that they hold dear.
Yeah.
The truth is, we have to rejoice when they discover their true identity. And it's hard in between does not rejoice about injustice. There's some things that are just not fair. Mm-hmm. There's just some things that your parents left you, they abandoned you. There's orphans out there. There's children who are just abandoned, and they're not orphans. Their parents are living their life. Maybe they're addicted. Maybe they're in prison. Maybe you've been treated maybe you in a way that you shouldn't have as a child. Maybe you've dealt with some sort of abuse. There's a space that the truth will come out, the truth of who you really are. And when we discover our true identity as a beloved child of God, that you have value and we have dignity and we have a purpose, it changes. And that's when we discover that we make different choices. We no longer are sexually promiscuous. We don't feel the need to sleep around to try and validate the fact that we are wanted by somebody, anybody. We no longer desire addictions because we realize that it's breaking our relationships and destroying our very character and any integrity we're trying to develop. And we no longer abandon our relationships because we understand that God loves us. Yeah. Just like the prodigal son who took off. His dad didn't go after him. But when he went back home,
Open arms. Yes, he ran to him.
Now his brother didn't like it. The ones who stayed there might not like it. But you continue to go on. You continue to go on. The truth, when the truth comes out, it'll win. The truth always wins. The truth that you're at least making an attempt to change.
Yeah, that's a huge one, because that's the thing. One of the number one things I think that's hurting our culture right now is not knowing their true identity. Because if you know, not just be able to articulate it, not just be able to regurgitate it, not to memorize it, but when you understand that you're made in the image and likeness of God, a lot of stuff we wouldn't fall for. When he says you're fearfully and wonderfully made, oh my God, we wouldn't allow ourselves to go through 90% of the stuff that we go through if we truly understood who we are as a child of God, and just understand that, man, God made something when he made you, took the mold, shattered it, and there'll never be another one of you. And when we understand that truth that comes out, man, oh my God, it is so beautiful.
Verse 7, love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful and endures through every circumstance.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, guys.
Yeah, never gives up. Never. Because I always think about, parents with their kids. You're talking about loved ones of someone who has an addiction, the promiscuity, the abandonment, the homelessness, the mental health. Man, that is so huge. Because I think about it, with the vow that I made with my queen, it said in sickness and in health, for rich or for poor, through the good times and bad, till death. Death. What is death? They ain't breathing no more. It's over. They brain dead, but they still breathing. When there is no more breath, that's when love never gives up until they take that last breath. And that's the same thing with God. As long as somebody is still living, there's always a shot for them to be able to return home and give their lives to God. And man, just understand who you are with him. He never gives up on you. The same way we are never to give up, man. I mean, guess what? I might not be running after you over and over and over again, but guess what? I'm still here with open arms, ready to receive you, because I will not give up on you. You got my DNA. We gonna be in this thing for life. It's a given. But we never lose faith, man. It's always believing that, man. There's an inkling of hope. And I've heard too many aha stories where, people have given up there on their last leg and they just felt like it was over. And God always came through, always. And they was able to see that, turn their lives around, and then get back on track of where they're supposed to be at. Love never gives up. I don't care how many people. I'm in addiction. There's going to be quite a few families, man, that are just to the point of, we've done this intervention. If you don't get it together this time, we ain't going. But guess what? Deep down, they just having that intervention because they love you and they don't want to give up on you. And they just hoping this will be that moment that you had your aha moment.
Yeah. And what might that look like? This is what laboring in prayer looks like. It looks like not giving up through our laboring in prayer. It never loses faith. It looks like maybe making opportunities for them and giving them information for those who are in active addiction or homeless or in mental health. Maybe offering opportunities of information. Maybe you can't be the person to bring them into it, but maybe you can give them information of where they can have a safe home, a counselor. They can find some assistance in a recovery area. Whatever that is, it's always hopeful that they would choose to make the decisions that help them get to the place where they can live their true purpose, and really identify the fact that they do have value and they do have purpose and that they are loved. And sometimes that means that we have to step away from the relationship, but we continue to hope and believe. I know once we lose hope, that's where the problems arise. We never want to lose hope on anybody. Love never fails. It never fails. It only fails when we neglect to do something, when we desert or abandon the very thing that we say we love. It's one thing to say we love people. It's another thing if those people feel loved by us. So love never fails. What might that look like?
Yeah, so ways that love never fails. I always think about, I'm just using one scenario. It's just, I am so grateful and honored and have the privilege of working at a drug and alcohol rehab facility. And, we see people multiple times that come back, go through the detox, go on, then they come back, go to the detox, go through residential, go on, go through the detox, residential, and the IOP program, come back. And they always feel a sense of guilt and shame. But the thing that's so beautiful is working at the facility that I work at, everybody just welcomes them back with open arms, because guess what? If they have another breath, that means there's another opportunity for them to get this thing right. Because as much as I love them, I always think about their kids. I'm a person that loves kids, and I always think about, man, if I can help this parent get their life together, that child has a great chance of having a full life when they have both the parents there that are being able to devote their time and energy to being the parents that they need to be. So that's always a big one for me. As long as a person can take another breath, guess what? It ain't my job to hold you in, you've only got, 7 times to mess up with me. And after that 7th time, it's over. You know what? As long as you got breath, as long as there's forgiveness, and there's an attempt to get that life back right, man, we ain't never supposed to give up on nobody, man. So that's a great, just illustration of us, man, saying, you know what, we got to do the things that we need to do to make sure this person has that life. We never want to give up on anybody. And that's with anything. Parents, I know it's been hard. If, your kids have been, gone, because of addiction or promiscuity, or they just, homeless. You don't even know. I mean, they got mental health issues you didn't know about and how to handle it, but you just want to hear that voice. That's the one beautiful thing when, the clients get a chance to call their parents, and so that parent can hear their voice, because guess what, that lets them know, their prayers didn't go unanswered, that person is still alive, they got another chance, they're somewhere safe that they can be, and that love is ready to welcome them back home. Come on back home and let's get this thing right. But that love right there is just that love that needs to be there, that they want to come back to.
I love to be a hope dealer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we can deal in this world, but let's be a hope dealer.
Yeah.
There's always hope. There's always hope. Things can always get better. It doesn't always have to look that way. It doesn't always have to be the way it is right now.
Yeah.
It could get a little bit better, but we have to, and also in the fact of not neglecting and abandoning, that includes yourself. Don't just allow things to just be the way they are and say, well, this is the way it is. This is the way I am. This is the way it is, I'm always going to be. Not if it's not working for you anymore. You have to make a decision to recognize some things. Maybe there's resentment inside of you, and you realize that it's coming out in your relationships. You're resentful towards that person. And I know the Bible says, how many times do I have to forgive? How many times, babe, do I have to forgive? What does it say?
Over and over and over again.
7 times 77, or 77 times 7, or
777
times 7, or 7,777 times. Like,
yeah.
And some things,
keeping records.
And some things, I'm such a firm believer. Some things, it's not even about forgiveness, because you might not even know how to process. Maybe you haven't processed the fact of what specifically you need to forgive, because there's just so much. Mm-hmm. There's layers and layers and layers of things that you still have carried from your own childhood that have polluted your spirit, your soul, your heart, your mind, your thoughts. But be a hope dealer and just let things go, man. Some things you just have to let go. And you have to give people grace. Now, not everybody will have grace for your story. Not everybody will understand. But you can be the one that has grace for your story. And you can be the one that tries to understand. And you can be the one that chooses to let it go, because it's more important to have a healthy relationship than to be right about everything. It's not always about being right.
Amen. In closing with this, man, love never fails, man. Never fails, man. God will never give up on you. I pray you will never give up on yourself. And then there's always people out there whom you may not be able to, see, touch, or feel, but there's always somebody out there that's wanting the best for you. Wanting the best for you. And God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever shall believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. God so loved the world that he gave up something for that, and that was you. So don't you ever feel like life has abandoned you and people have abandoned you. There's always hope that somebody's going to be there for you. This is your boy John Bacon with another segment of Bacon Bitz. Much love. God bless. All right, what's up, family? It's your boy John Bacon from the Bacon Bitz podcast. Thank you so much for your support, likes, and ratings. Please don't just listen, but rate me, follow me, and subscribe. This is an amazing way to offer free support. My beautiful queen and I have some books that we have written for your growth.
So the first book we have is a workbook, actually. It's called Healthy Relationships, and this is a workbook through the lens of faith. Because what makes a relationship healthy or unhealthy? So this workbook is designed, it's a 12-week, it's a biblically grounded course, and every week has a few different principles. So some of our principles, some of our topics that we're covering are respect, cultivating security. And this is not just between a husband and wife. This is between parents, between siblings, between friends, between your bosses, employers. So it's really important, and everyone deserves a healthy relationship.
And also we have The Balanced Life by John Bacon. It covers how to be prosperous in your finances, relationships, your health, your mind, and your spirit. And we also have
The Unraveling, a creative healing journal, pinings, poems, prayers, and ponderings of my precarious life. I've had a testimony of, I've had 2 brain tumors and 2 brain surgeries, and I'm super grateful, but I'm still grieving the process of healing. And this is part of the process. In this book, you have devotionals, you have prayers, and you have some ponderings. And in between these pages, there's a space for you to also be prompted to paint and to create your own, or maybe you want to write something in these books. This is part of your creative healing journal that we get to walk through together.
And you guys can just head over to Kingdom Servants First. Kingdom Servants, the number 1, st.com. And you can purchase all 3 of these books. Thank you for your support, your love, and your contributions. God bless.